Thank you, Kylie. Cooper, James as well. Thank you so much for that amazing start. Hey, folks, we're here to celebrate someone's life, and it's Anton. He's not with us today, so I just want to let you know a little bit about this place. If you've never been here before, Wilbur would like you to look around and see certain features of this beautiful place, like the lake over there that's based on Monet, and a whole lot of other features in the house. And as you go through the house, you'll see all sorts of artistic stuff. So as you can see, this amazing house is a very Greek villa, two-story Greek villa. Most of this is Anton's doing, the plantings and a whole lot of the other things. And Wilbur, I hope you get to speak a little bit with Wilbur today. And if you don't and you'd like to leave a message, there's a little booklet over there between the house and the fence there. Pop that on there. Folks, loos are inside. If you go straight through the house, there's a big wet area there. There's a toilet there. There's even one halfway up the stairs. You'll find happiness in all of those. And particularly if you go to the bottom stairs one and you actually have to sit down, if you look to your left, you'll see a lovely loonig, and you'll see why he's such a genius. And if you can remember the 9 words that are written there, it'll be awesome. It's just fun. Okay, couple of things. Wilbur wants to just say thanks to all of those who've travelled a long distance today to be here. That's really lovely of you. For those who've travelled shorter distances, well, the thanks is in proportion. You can hardly hear me? That's the first time in my life I've been asked to turn the microphone up. Good on you, Louisa. Okay, folks, look, we've got a lot happening today after that amazing start. What we're going to do is we'll get Mick straight up here. Mick, can you get your troops organised? You're actually on the program now, so bring them on. Now, so Mick is going to give us a eulogy. You're going to do that first, Mick, or are you going to play the music? Mick's going to do the eulogy. Before you do, you're right. So look, let's just welcome Mick. Mick was Anton's brother-in-law, and he's, so have a few words. Now,
Thank you, everyone. Is that on? Yes. What a PSA. I've reached the age now where I read library books in big print, and when I've got to say a few words, I have to have cue cards because I can't remember things. My first cue is don't forget Anton's weight today.
Yeah, good work.
Can I have that up? That's it. Anton didn't want any sackcloth and ashes and wailing and weeping, nor did he want lengthy speeches. So you're lucky to have me up here today, because if it was Anton, once he gets on a roll, it's pretty hard to sort of rein him in. So I'm not going to be here for terribly long. He said to Dave Coate once recently, he said, "I've had a fabulous life. I've been married to a wonderful lover. I've had my music. I've had everything I could wish for. And I've had my 10 plus a couple." He was so positive. He was such a beautiful man. So positive, and he was a man who had no malice in him, nor resentment. He didn't even resent dying. He only wished people well. On to the next cue. I've written a bit too much here, Dick. Anton brought, as we know, and it has been said and will be said again this afternoon, joy and happiness through his music and Wilbur's to so many people. He was always in a band, going way back to Or before we came to Briagolong, when they were down at Yarram, there was Ragwort and Thistle, the Palm Court Orchestra, Continental Drift, Just Teasing, through to the current Wine Dogs, and a lot of others in between. Willie Strings. Anton was only one of the few people that I know who made his living out of music. He hadn't had an honest job in 30 or 40 years. They were the resident band at the theatre restaurant Titanic for many years, and of course they did all the rest, weddings and bar mitzvahs and whatever. The only thing they didn't do was rock and roll. Anton said, we haven't got enough electric guitars for rock and roll. And so Anton also taught violin, mostly to kids, and he put on a concert every year in a church in Williamstown in which every kid took part, no matter how new or untalented, which was a word Anton never said. He never said to a parent, hey, listen, you know, Johnny's going to make a great mechanic someday, but violin, well, you know. He never said that. He was always positive and encouraging. There was not one parent at those concerts who didn't see their kid as one day being the #1 violin in the MSO. He had a circuit of daycare centres. He did a show for the Littlies, juggling, stories, music, magic. He was a bit of a bluffer with magic. He really wasn't a magician. He could sort of get a coin out of a kid's ear, but he would do things like this. And the kids would love it. They'd say, oh, wow. He regularly played for homeless men in a St Kilda mission. A beautiful man. He brought joy and comfort to everyone who came in contact with him. Having said that, he achieved much in his life, as we know. But there were plenty of things that Anton could not do. Plenty of things. He couldn't fly an aeroplane, for example, nor drive a locomotive. In fact, as far as driving was concerned, you know, apart from a small van, the ride-on mower was about his limit, and he left that mainly to Wolver. But of all the things that Anton couldn't do, the thing I loved the best was he could not tell a joke. No. He crucified jokes. He suffered a sort of joke dyslexia. You know, he would more often than not sort of start with the punchline and work his way back. Or if he started at the front, he'd balls that up too. He'd say, there was a priest and a rabbi and an Englishman. No, hang on. An Englishman, a Scotsman and a leprechaun. Hopeless. I used to, you know, go home. He'd say at the dinner table, I've got this terrific joke, and Wolver had grown. Oh, no, Anton. But he'd go ahead with it. And at the end of the night, I'd lie in bed and try and work it out like a cryptic crossword, you know. And I'd say, if there's 3 people of different nationalities, or 3 people of different religious persuasions, where does the leprechaun fit in? I used to try and work them out. He was also not interested in everything. There were plenty of things that Anton was not interested in, sport being one of them. How un-Australian is that? A lot of you have heard this little anecdote, but it's worth repeating. They were living in St Kilda, and our son Danny was going to uni in Melbourne and boarding with them. And Anton took a call one day, someone asking for Danny, and Anton said, no, I'm sorry, he's not here, he's gone to football rehearsals. On another occasion, Danny was leaving the building, and he said, where are you off to, Dan? I said, you're going to play football. He said, oh, have you looked out the window? It's raining cats and dogs. There will be no football. And Danny had to explain to him, football goes on, rain, hail or shine. So Anton said, well, take an umbrella. Apparently his imagination had no difficulty with the concept of 36 men milling around on a football field with their brollies up, trying to pull down a screamer. I'd like to sing, with the help of Jeppo and Siobhan, a song for Anton. His last few weeks, he did it pretty hard, but he was tucked away into his music room where he loved to be, and we had Christmas lunch with him. He managed to eat a little, drink a little champagne, and on a couple of occasions, when he felt up to it, Pat and I and Tim and Louisa and Wolver would have a little 5 o'clock cocktail hour with him, and he loved it. And he was always so positive. He was able to say, I've had a pretty good day today. So the song I'd like to sing, if we can get Jeppo and Siobhan up to give me a hand, is a song about good days and bad days. Jeppo is Anton's oldest mate. They've known each other since teenage years, and Jeppo is his best man. Siobhan is a dear friend who was married to our old mate Peter Taylor, who used to play dobro for Dr. Foster's Bluegrass Band. And unfortunately Peter can't be here with us today because he's gone down the same road quite recently that Anton went down. So, Jeppo, you come over here, just sit there, and I'll...
I'm joining in.
I'd like to say that I'm fine, and I do. But we both know the truth is hard to come by. And if I told the truth, that's not quite true. Some days are diamonds, some days a stone. Sometimes the hard times won't leave me alone, and sometimes a cold wind puts a chill in my bones. Some days are diamonds, some days a stone. Face that I see in my mirror, more and more is a stranger to me. More and more I can see there's the danger. I've become what I never thought I'd be. Oh, some days a diamond, and some days a stone, and sometimes the hard times won't leave me alone. Oh, and sometimes a cold wind puts a chill in my bones. Some days are diamonds, some days are stone. Now we both know what it's like to be alone now. You have to learn how to smile and hide the pain. But it sure is so nice that you are home now. And we are here together once again. Oh, some days are diamonds and some days are stone. And sometimes the hard times won't leave me alone. Oh, and sometimes a cold wind puts a chill in my bones. Some days are diamonds and some days are stone. Goodbye, old friend.
Thank you, guys. Can you all hear properly out back there? We're all good? Because I could pump this up a little louder if you need it to go there. Wilbur's asked that one of Anton and Wilbur's dearest old friends is Marg Cameron. And there she is, right there in front of me. So Marg is going to speak on behalf of Wilbur and have a few words. Thanks, Marg. This mic, or whichever one you want. You're allowed to clap, huh?
No. Okay, I'm Marg Cameron, an old friend, and Wilbur would like me to say these words to you that she's written about Anton. I've been so lucky to have been married to this joyful, positive man for 51 years. Such was his undaunted optimism that even he changed dour old me into a reasonably upbeat person. Really, he never did see a problem with anything. He rushed into projects with great zeal. If he didn't have the correct tool, he'd make do or make the tool. He was the epitome of the glass half full person. There are dozens of kids who have benefited from his enthusiasm. Some will become musicians, and others will love music all the more because of the fun lessons. I used to hear the kids galloping ahead of their parents to our front door. Then lots of laughter and tortured violins. It even extended to me. He saw no problem that I was 40 and had zilch musical knowledge. Over the years, he brought home for me a flute, a guitar, a whistle, recorders, even a trombone, for God's sake. He, of course, mastered them all in 3 weeks or so. Never deterred, he made me a chess bass. Apparently I did have an inner bass player. That was the start. Anton dragged me kicking and screaming into the entertainment world. He was an enabler. Not only to me, but to everyone around him. I think that was his gift to us all. He had an undaunted belief that everyone was creative and highly talented, and it proved to be so. Even during the cancer years, he took on new projects: bread baking, wine making, patisserie, pickled everything. Meanwhile, still arranging music for our happy little Briag band, Wine Dogs. He endured painful treatments with panache, very rarely complaining, and basically thought the whole thing an interesting exercise. I remember him going into chemo, calling out to all the poor afflicted, "Hello, playmates!" Probably drove them mad. In his pragmatic, realistic way, he was entirely accepting of his eventual death from this horrible disease, which made it so much easier for us all. Also, I would like to thank Sale Oncology and the caring nurses who helped him through the various treatments. Thanks to the wonderful palliative care nurses who made it possible for him to spend his last 10 days at home in our music room. We are eternally grateful. I would also like to thank everyone for your gifts of cooked meals, flowers, wine, videos and offers to help. The love we received was warming. You made everything so much easier. Especially Patty and Louisa for helping me so much in the last vigil days. I will never forget. We never had kids, but to our joy, Pat and Mick did. Anton and I had all the pleasures of being second parents while leaving all the hard bits to them. Travelling with both kids when they turned 16 was great, but teenagers, phew, a learning curve for us. In his pragmatic way, Anton wanted a smooth handover to me, so he spent lots of time training me to use the coffee machine, the generator, the DVD player, etc., as I'm tech phobic. We both gave up when we got to the chainsaw. Everywhere I look, I see his creativity and energy. Every tree and vine was planted by him. He built the rock garden and veggie garden. He leaves me such a wonderful environment to live in. Anton, you brought music into my life.
James.
So I chose this song because Anton only saw the joy in everything and the good in everyone. And he especially admired the beauty of nature that resonates in all of us. And so this song is for you, Anton.
Seeing you in all the old familiar places that my heart and mind embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning I'll be looking at the moon, and I'll be seeing you.
Richard is here somewhere. Richard Teese. He's on his way. Onto this mic, if you wouldn't mind, Richard.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard, who's Anton's younger brother, and I'm going to say a few words. First of all, I just want to say thanks to Wilbur for all the care she showed. So I'm a bit...
Yeah, get into the mic, Richard.
that's better. If I take my glasses off, I can see what I'm doing. Someone could live 100 years and not enjoy a day of it, says Rousseau. Anton didn't make it to his century, but he lived every day as if he had been granted only half those years to fill. What he crammed into his day made every year richer. Life was a great adventure. It was the trip to the moon that he organised with his many childhood friends in Bourneville Avenue. Of course, the rocket never took off, but the thrill of making it or moving on to the next adventure made every day worth living. Infectious optimism and enthusiasm earned him many friends. Anton's sociability, my mother thought, must have been due to the fact that he had lost his twin brother in utero. This was his other brother, the one who had emptied the entire contents of the linen cupboard onto the floor, then conveniently strolled off to a party. This delusion persisted for some time and was not unusual in grieving twins, my mother was assured by the doctor. Anton made up for his missing other by filling the East Brighton house with friends of all shapes and sizes. He had been taught to use his imagination, that great ally of modest circumstances, and imagination created the climate in which friendship flourished. Anton's love of life drew on a deep spring and made him adventurous, as when he taught us to launch the kitchen kettle into space using sixpenny bungers. This easily made up for the lunar fiasco, or when the joy of chemistry blew up the new kitchen. There were flames, fire, and absolute panic. Anton could not resist the temptation to understand how things worked and how they were put together. His restless imagination was joined by an irrepressible curiosity. He was a born scientist, but also practical. He filled the backyard with the sad remains of a 1927 Essex. This he assembled bit by bit and actually got it to run. Not far, it is true. It was another lunar expedition, but it made the point. What could be done depended on you. The engine of the combi wagon, laid bare on the kitchen table at Elstonwick years later, demonstrated his mechanical aptitude as well as displaying a dismal respect for culinary rectitude. From his maternal great-grandfather, Anton inherited his love of science and of photography, his first job. From his parental grandfather, the violin. Music was another adventure. He was irritatingly strict with metre and dangerous with his bow, as I found out. But he would tackle any score and impressed his ancient teachers and even the stern nuns of O'Neill Convent. My father, who could strip the engine of a DC-4 but could not keep time on his long-suffering accordion, steeped Anton in complete ignorance of any physical or mental impediment to his own exertions. Nothing was beyond the power of human will and wit. Think of the houses that he and Wilbur have built. I had an older brother who led the way out of a chaotic working class home. The sometimes terrible dramas of life at home he countered with his music. This was a world which no adversity could deny him. It had its own rules and its own space that anyone could occupy, and which he did well, firstly with a fiddle, then classical guitar. We, all 5 of his siblings, watched him, took up instruments and played. How Anton kept his nerve and optimism in those dreadful days, he being the oldest, I can only wonder at. In one encounter he stood up to my father in an act of sheer bravery, which to this day I have not forgotten. A house of 6 children and 2 adults in constant war removed any chance of Anton finishing school. He needed to escape a situation that he could neither control nor tolerate. My mother used to say she had lost Anton, and in one sense she had. She had lost the bright young scholar who had shown such promise that the Jesuits were prepared to waive their fees. Instead, the 3 Tees boys were penned up in a brawler's cage called St. Bede's. But in another sense, my mother had succeeded with her firstborn. For just like her, he stood on his own feet and by dint of sheer intelligence and spirit, succeeded where school had manifestly failed. I knew the same pleasure as him in saying goodbye to school. Anton led by example, but also by exchange of ideas. No Catholic school would have tolerated his questions, let alone his answers. His scepticism was sharp and unrelenting. He was a thinker. His was the intelligence that needed no proofs of school, but rose on a regular tide of inner assurance. This intelligence opened him to other people. They were in their own ways each an adventure on which he thrived. In his early childhood, he had found many friends even before he could speak. Children from up the street would greet him through the front fence in Richmond, and one day even took him along with them to play footy, to my mother's uncomprehending horror. He had been removed from the pram and carried forth. By contrast, the empty paddocks of East Brighton to which we moved dismayed him. "Where are all the peoples?" he protested. "You have your baby brother? Go and keep him company," my mother suggested. Seeing that Richard could not yet talk, Anton rose to the occasion and made him laugh. How he made me laugh I do not know, but laughter became a language between us and with many others. Anton's warm sense of humour, ever alert to irony, dry one moment, hysterical the next, opened people to him. He touched their hearts. He saw very well that welcoming others into his life meant sharing their trials as well as gaining an ally in his. His greatest ally was Wilbur. Refugee like him from the torments of a baby boom marriage, Wilb introduced Anton to the concept of the future. No doubt this was a startling revelation to one for whom imagination and adventure were timeless joys, not to be hampered by grubby matters of money. So arose the business or foreign side of Anton, the prudent and mature side, somewhat shorn but setting a brave example to his sibs. Anton was for his part an inexhaustible source of strength and comfort for his spouse of nearly 52 years. It was on their great companionship that Anton could rely more than ever in these last years past, when the joy of living was so sorely tested. No one ever leaves this earth unless they are not remembered, and are remembered in the measure of their care for others. This man who loved life and surrendered it most reluctantly had so much to share that all of us hold him dear in our memories. There he goes on living in the abundance of his spirit. For 100 years he might have lived is certain to live in us. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll resurrect that. I think that's a song that someone won't remember unless they've got the notes for it there. Andre. Thanks, Andre.
So many people. Don't know where to start. I can't look at any lines because I left mine behind. So where do I start? I wanted to write a song about Anton. I was wondering if there was one. So I looked through the YouTube and I found all the different bands that Anton had been in. It was just so amazing. I'd never seen them before. I hate crying, but anyway, it happens, doesn't it? Anyway, so Anton was an amazing brother, he really was. From 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls, we all had lots of fun. We got into trouble all the time. Anton really was a bit of a magician. He, when we were little, we were all getting into our pyjamas, and suddenly Anton said, "Turn off the light, I've got something for all you to see." So he came in with a cereal box, and when we turned off the light, he had this comic threaded through the cereal box, and it lit up the whole room. And so we had this little magic show, and that's how Anton was. And at Christmas time, he used to say, "Oh, come on, I've got a surprise for you." And he'd say, "Close your eyes." And he was really an atheist at heart. But he always thought of his family. And so he'd make Christmas trees out of newspaper. Just out of newspaper. He said, "Close your eyes and then open them," and the Christmas tree would just get higher and higher. He was a very magical person. I did write a song, but I didn't bring it with me, but sadly. I don't know what to say. He just was a wonderful, spirited person, and I can only count a few friends on my hand, but he had so many, and I'm so grateful that he had so many friends. And I think his life will go on his next journey. And he tried to teach me to play music. I still can't learn music. In fact, the whole family tried to teach me. I still can't do it. And he always used to say, "Oh, Andre's good at maths too," because I was very bad at maths, but he just always had a little line to make everybody laugh. But he was only a little man, but he was a big man in other ways. He was like a little Charlie Chaplin, I think. Very artistic with his camera and his magic. I don't know what else to say, except to say, love you, Anton, wherever you are. I'm glad I said goodbye to you. But never say goodbye, and if you all look on YouTube, there's some wonderful YouTube videos of all the bands he's been in. And I'd like you all to look at them because he's left that legacy for us, And it's really wonderful to hear it. He's a very funny man with a great sense of humour. Thanks very much.
I know. Louisa, come on up. Yeah, go on to that one, I reckon. Just for no, that one's better.
Okay.
For you, speaking.
This one is off. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take my cue from Anton. When he spoke at his mum's funeral, he started with some memories of my mum. In sifting through all the memories I had, I realised I could paint you a picture of Anton through 4 repeating categories. Not that he was someone you could easily categorise, but for me it really was about music, food, knowledge, and joie de vivre, or joy of life. I have to start with food because they are my earliest memories with Anton. He loved food. He loved to grow it, make it, and eat it. Attending a restaurant with Anton, you could bank on him either ordering a spaghetti marinara or the most obscure thing on the menu, like offal, but this was before offal was on trend. And my favourite party trick as a kid, if there was a whole baked fish floating around, was to collect all my friends and drag Anton to where the food was and make him eat the fish eyes in front of them. He was very obliging, declaring, "They're fabulous, try one." And it was always met with shrieks of horror, delight and laughter. My earliest memory was standing at the stove at Paddy Mullen Gully, waiting for popcorn to pop. Now, I would have been about 3 or so, and getting a child of 3 to stand still for the 4 or so minutes it takes for popcorn to pop is no easy task. But for Anton, it was nothing. He was a pro at entertaining 3-year-olds and children in general. He kept my brother entertained for days, digging for gold in his backyard, informing him of the buried treasure supposedly under the surface, and dropping gold curtain rings in the hole every now and again to keep up the momentum. Popcorn was my first test in patience with Anton, and my second was the violin. Anton taught me the violin for years before Wolver and he moved to Melbourne. I have memories of him pointing his bow at the sheet music in front of me, saying ta ti ti ta ta. It was his enthusiasm for music that kept me engaged. Anton's enthusiasm for music was infectious, as most of you will know. I have vivid memories throughout my life at parties where somehow Anton persuaded everyone, young and old, to participate in singing rounds. His passion for music runs so deep. I also have memories of him tearing up when discussing Mozart at the dinner table. And his knowledge of music was exhaustive, as was his knowledge of most things. We were talking about his inquiring mind the other day. It's an attribute shared by all the teasers. And I mentioned he was the only person that could explain to me the ins and outs of Palestine and Israel in such depth that my brain would hurt. He had a lot of compassion for Jewish people, and he could have been Jewish for the way that he looked. Wolver was telling me he was often accosted when they lived in Germany in the 60s. But he wasn't Jewish, and it wasn't just Jewish people he had compassion for. On a recent trip to hospital, when he was so sick he could be excused for feeling sorry for himself, he wasn't at all. He was more concerned with the children in Aleppo flashing before us on the news. And he told us how lucky he was. Forever the optimist. Another tease trade, I think. Wolver and Anton took me to Spain and Danny to Greece as teens. And this was their gift to us, and what a gift it was. Danny rang me when we first got the news that Anton had cancer, and we cried on the phone together. But Danny said to me, you know, Anton has always said things at certain times in my life that were pertinent and just the right thing to say to change my thinking. And this is true for me too. And so in thinking about his optimism and that trip to Spain, I can recall one such occasion. We were in Ronda, a small village, and we took a tour of this cave that went from the village down to the canyon below. It's about 100 metres or so. Anton explained to me that at some point in time, slaves would have been positioned on every second step, passing water up to the town above, all day, every day. I was horrified at the prospect and conveyed my dismay, to which he proclaimed, "But no, Louisa, they would have been happy. They had purpose in life, and at the end of the day, they would go home and they would have bread to share with their family." I can't tell you what a revelation such a statement was for an adolescent egocentric girl born into the wealth of the West. But that small conversation changed my trajectory. There were many of these for both Danny and I along the way. That sense of purpose with Anton stays with me, and my vision of Anton has to do with having a sense of purpose. I have a mental picture of him in that transition time going from one purpose to the next. He just finished making some bread in the kitchen and then had this moment of interlude or introspection where we would freeze and think and say, "Okay, I better go plant those seedlings now." But if the purpose was absent for a split second, he would say, "Oh, okay, I might go play the piano now or the violin, practice for a bit," which you would do, and then he would re-emerge later and say, "Okay, I better go plant those seedlings now." His optimism and zeal for life was insatiable. After a party at Mum and Dad's, and I have to say there were many over the years, either at Mum and Dad's or Wolver and Anton's, lots of walks across the paddock to the other's destination. Anyway, the next day we were all beckoned to walk into town from Mum and Dad's house. We did the walk into town and back, but at the bottom of the hill over there we all began to gripe about the final hill we had to climb. Anton said, "That's nothing, good for us. In fact, I'll run up it. Come on, Wolf, let's run." And he came from behind, swept her through the arm, and Interlock proceeded to run to the top of the hill. Now, Wolfer must have been buggered by the time she got to the top, because not only was she running, she was uncontrollably giggling and laughing at the same time. And that laughter of Wolf's generated by Anton is going to be missed. A couple of years ago, we had Christmas out at our block on the Freestone Creek, and everyone decided to retire, much to Wolfer and Anton's disgust. They could keep the party going forever. Anyway, Tim and I were camped in a tent, and Wolfer and Anton in the back of their van like 20-year-olds. And for hours, Tim and I listened to them, yap, 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 and then Wolfer giggling and laughing. We both said, "Let's try and be like that." You have been wonderful teachers of love. When Dad... You can do it. When Danny met Tale and I, Tim, Anton and Wolver encouraged that kind of love. And I'm so pleased with how much our partners got to be a part of Anton's life. Because Anton was one of the most incredible individuals I think a lot of us have ever met. And we've been truly blessed. I can't express to you all how much dignity, compassion and love that both Wolver and Anton put into this dying. But it was about the same amount as they put into their living. And Wolver, you have been honourable in your strength and respect and care for Anton. And I know that he's going to be with you through this going, "Come on, Wolf." Anyway, I can hear him saying, "Chin chin, Louisa, very good," which is something that he used to say particularly to us young ones when we've made a reasonable contribution at the dinner table. So.
Very good. Catherine.
Catherine Lanigan's going to come up and sing a song for us. I think we need a song at the moment. Thanks.
Hi everyone. Anton was my uncle too. My dad was Wilbur and Pat's brother. So I didn't get to see my Gippsland family as much as I would have liked growing up. But I have a handful of memories of time with my Briagolong and Gippsland family, and music clearly featured in every single one of them. And Anton was always the star of the show, of course. Much passionate discussion around the dinner table, the food, all of the things that Louisa has spoken about, and he has, same as well, inspired me in so many ways. And late in life I've
got into the music thing, and I attribute that to Anton. So I'm going to sing you a song now. I'm going to grab it now. This is Emily.
Hello, Emily.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't
There was a man up here before playing mandolin. And so I'd like to get Jeppo up one more time to have a little word.
Okay. We'll ask for it.
We have asked for it.
Hello, sweetheart.
So come on up, Jeppo.
Yeah, well, here we go. Well, as has been pointed out, okay, I was looking around, I've probably known Anton longer than anybody else aside from his siblings. Yeah, I reckon I would. That'd be about it. I won't try and say old and new friends, family, etc., etc., because I'd have to start naming his family, and that's like trying to remember the names of the 7 dwarves. So I'll give that a swerve. Okay, right. For those of you that haven't met me, my name's Pete Jepson, and most people call me Jeppo or Pete, and that's it. Now, aside from his siblings, as I said, I've known Anton longer than anybody else here, and all of those memories have been very fresh memories. And he was a man who was astounding. He always had something new. Every time you met him, it was like a crackers going off. There'd be something entirely new that you'd never heard before. Now, this is sad, but now Anton died on the first day of this year, 2017. The point is, we are still here, and he is not. which in itself means that he went too soon, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we first met when we were in our early teens. Anton was being taught violin, and he did it very well. And everything he picked up that was musical, it just sort of stuck with him. He was good at it. I was trying to painfully push my way through a guitar that had a bend in the neck like a banana. So I played in the first position, but I was starting to get there. Anton was a school friend of my neighbour Bock, Brian O'Keefe, who unfortunately took this same road only a few weeks back, which is a very sad thing in itself too. But anyhow, we all started to knock round together because we had this music thing. Oh, what did you learn today? What did you learn? I learned to play an A chord. How to do that? And it was working. And together with the music being the main thing, we were all interested in other things, of course, Sheila's girls, etc., being amongst them. But music was the thing that we were really interested in. In time, Anton met Wilbur, or vice versa. I'm not fully aware of the circumstances, but it was obviously long term. And they became an item, and in due course I became their best man, but that's beside the point. Through Wilbur we met her sister Patricia, who hates being called Patricia. I think I'm the only one who's game to do it. How else to explain these scars, mate? And she prefers Pat. And Pat was knocking around with a sort of shortish, whitish, balding, blonde bloke. Known to one and all as Mick. Still is, except for those who know him really well and he's Micko. Anyhow, Mick also played the guitar, sort of. Still does. Sort of, yeah. I reckon if he practices he might get the nuts of it someday. Anyhow, this Ersarts and a loosely knit family has sort of been together for the best part, I suppose, of 6 decades. We've been together for 60 years or thereabouts, off and on. We're still the best of friends. Now, I catch up with my own writing. The best place. Yeah, no, someone else said then, I'll cross that. Just set that out. Okay. Oh, there's the line someone hasn't come up with. Micko, in his usual perspicacious way, summed up the situation by saying, and he said this, oh Christ, at the farewell of another one of our very good friends and musos, he said, we were very good friends, but music was the glue that held us together. And it still does. It still does. We were good friends, but music was the glue. Without that music, I don't think half of us wouldn't be here today. Well, that's the trouble. Yeah. Well, I'm working on living forever, and I seem to be getting there so far. Come on here to it. Anyhow, we all have our own personal and special memories of Anton. Micko says that Anton could never tell a joke properly, as he was pointing out. He always seemed to cock it up somehow. And the cream of the joke was listening to Anton tell the joke, was listening to Anton cock it up. Tell you something else too. He would never have made a professional gambler. He was shocker. He was a shocker. If a horse had 5 legs, he'd bet on it. To me, anyhow, he always appeared to be cack-handed and awkward. He was. You'd try to watch him fix something, and his father was brilliant. His father, as somebody, one of the girls I think said, he could pull a DC-4 motor apart with his eyes shut and put it together again, but Anton couldn't put a push bike together. Immediately. But actually he was rather clever and adroit. Amongst other skills, he was, as already is mentioned, and that's the trouble coming last, someone's already said it, but it doesn't matter. He says he was a very gifted photographer, amazingly gifted. People don't know the work that he's really done and some of the stuff that he's got tucked away. And a very skilled musician. He was the best musician amongst all of us, that was for sure. He knew how to play it properly and even read the golf sticks. But he'd never been a successful gambler, I said that, and so he never gambled on anything except what was going to lose. Anton and Will were also intrepid travellers, always intrepid travellers. Now, it wasn't a question of where they had been, as far as I was concerned and everyone else, it was more like a question of where they hadn't been. They were always looking for places they hadn't been. We were running out of places in the end, except for like Murmansk and others, which didn't hold a lot of charm as far as others were concerned. But they ended up even at one stage, I think they went and worked in Germany for several months in the photography business, I think, and even learnt the language so you could stay there. Bloody amazing. And I can remember another stage too where they in the USA, and I thought, well, why don't we do it the way others don't? And you bought an old car and drove it from one side of the country to the other. Who else would think of doing that? And you were kids.
And they were so cheap.
And they were cheap, yeah, because they were old. Yeah. Okay. Well, we won't go any further. Look, both of them, they loved Greece and the Ionian Peninsula and everything that had to do. The colour schemes, the light, the way the light bounced off the white walls and the blues. And it's, well, you can see the results around you. Just turn around. This is the Ionian Peninsula, where we are now, where they are.
Aussie Mesohoria, Jeppo.
Hey?
This place is called Aussie Mesohoria.
Aussie middle something.
Yes. Aussie Mesohoria.
Meso, I don't know what horia means.
Mountain.
Mountain, okay. We'll leave it there. Anyhow, the colour and the lifestyle, you can see the result of the influence all around you today. It's not easy, anyhow, for me to hear my own thoughts and memories out loud because you generally keep them to yourselves. The decades of happy times that we shared, rather than the fact that Anton is no longer with us here today, as we know it, is a little difficult for me to get a handle on. But, however, I'm pretty certain of two things. Anton would have wanted us all here today with our happiest thoughts of our times together, and secondly, Anton really is still here with us in spirit, as we have all been influenced by him to a tiny bit by his joy of life and presence, and we will carry a small part of him and a smattering of Anton with us for the rest of our lives. Always. Every one of us. Anton was a pretty unique person throughout and throughout. Well, it should be through and through. I'd back it up with English here, but don't worry. From character, personality and presence. Every one of us here today are here because of Anton and no other reason. We have all, every one of us, been surrounded by Anton and Wilbur's dream. And we are surrounded by Anton and Wilbur's dream. And Anton lived the dream till the very end. He lived in his dream. Good man. And we've all been touched by him. Anyhow, to me, Anton always put me in mind, no one's mentioned this, but maybe I'm a bit nutty too, but he always sort of indicated me, he was like a little sparrow. You'd speak to Anton and he'd stop, his bright blue turquoise eyes would look at you, wouldn't blink, he'd tip his head and he'd listen to every word you said. And you were the focus of everything that was going on at the moment. He would listen to you and then he'd very carefully just rip your argument apart. Bugger him. Anyhow, to me, he just looked like that, and he reminded me of a sparrow. Anton, the bright blue eyes, that's how I'll always remember Anton. His bright blue eyes. We're all very lucky to have had, insert name here, oh Jesus, that should have been Anton. Oh, I've got all of those. We're all very lucky to have had Anton in our lives And as much as this little ball of energy, we will be missed by every one of us. He will be missed. Anton will remain with us all, every day, as long as we can avoid dementia. Please. Someone's got it. Hey, dementia. I'm Pete, but we all love and miss you, Anton, for all our remaining days. You've done more for the world than the world has ever done for you. Travel well, brother.
I'm going to have Nigel up now and we'll play a little bit of music. One of the things that Anton introduced me to was this lovely tune, and we've played it in every configuration over many years. There's a beautiful tune called The Ashokan Farewell. So Nige, if you could start it, I'll join you in just a second.
Farewell to green fields, goodbye to spinning hands. Our Father Time have turned once again, my friend. Farewell to green fields. Adieu to all my past. I wish that it would last until I close my eyes, close them for good, my love. Adieu to all my past. But you and I would always run, so free and young, and you would make a daisy chain and crown my head with kisses that I'll never forget. Oh, hear the healing drum. Our time is almost come. Like a ghost he steals out of the glen, my love. Oh, hear the healing drum. But you and I would climb a tree or watch with glee the busy buzzing honeybees, or cuddle close and whisper of our fondest home. Farewell to green fields, goodbye the spinning hands. All Father Time have turned once again, my friend. Farewell to green fields.
breaking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. But it's da 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 da, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Twin-doo-doo, feeling groovy. But it's a da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dabbled and drowsy and ready to sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Like I love you, all is groovy. But it's a da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Da-da-da-da-da. 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 Da-da, feeling groovy.
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though never like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me. Never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. Unforgettable, that's how you stay. That's why, Anton, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too.
This is a big song, and I remember singing this in your winery, my friends, when Anton asked us to fill in for you. And at the end of it, I got $50. It was the biggest tip I've ever got in my life. But someone asked me to sing it, and I'm going to try and sing it again for you today.
je ne regrette rien. Il est bien comme un feu, ni le mal, tout ça même bien égal. Non, rien, rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est fait, marié, oublié. Je me fous dépasser avec mes souvenirs. J'ai allumé le feu, mes chagrins, mes plaisirs. Je n'ai plus besoin de balayer les amours avec l'eau trémolo, balayer pour toujours. Je répare à zéro. Ah non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Il est bien comme un fait, ni le mal, tout ça même bénévole. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. One last kiss, sigh and say, no regrets. Anton, we love you
He lived with his heart, he lived mighty, and he had no regrets.
Here's a little tune that Anton taught us some years ago. It's called the Basso. It's a Hungarian piece, and from it we found a love of music gypsy, and from there was spawned Willie Philly and the Footscray Gypsies, which is the community orchestra that we're both a member of as well, and music still goes on.
besoin de rien. Elles sont faites quelque chose. Il est dans mon cœur, un aimant dans someone you speak and was it on the day. Every day one seems like give your precious love to me, my life just rolls every on C'est tout chanson qui nous ressemble. Toi, tout m'aimais et je t'aimais. Nous vivions tous les deux ensemble. Toi, tout m'aimais et je t'aimais. Mais la vie, c'est pas ce que s'aime. Tout s'aimait comme les rêves. Mais la vie, c'est pas que ça ressemble. Toi, autumn leaves drift past my window. The autumn leaves are red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long. As soon I hear a winter song, but I'll miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to fall. For Anton.
That was beautiful. Très bon. I think this might be our last song then for the day. Kylie, would you mind coming up again, and Tess?
Those were the days, mate. Yeah, off you go.
This is a song that Anton's probably sung with all of you and for all of you. So this was a man who we all just thought would live forever. And he does. And he will. And he will. In all of us, there's a piece of Anton that will keep on carrying on. And so this is a little story about a time.
Once upon a time, there was a tavern
In Briagolong. You may be at it.
where we used to raise a glass or two. Remember how we walked away the hours, thinking of the great things we would do. Those were the relaxing days, my friends. We thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. We live the life we choose. We fight and never lose. Those were the days. Oh yes, those were the days. But then the busy years went rushing by on. We lost our starry ocean on the way. But if by chance I'd see you in the tavern, but we sing. Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. We live the life we choose, we fight, we never lose. Those were the days, oh yes, those were the days. La 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 la. Then, through the dawn, there came familiar laughter.
We'll say it,
And I saw your face and heard you call my name.
Oh, Terry.
Oh, my friend, we're older, but we're wiser.
Oh, yes.
And in our hearts, our dreams are still the same. And we sing, those were the days, my friends, we thought they'd never end. We sing and dance forever and a day. We live the life we choose, we fight and never lose. Those were the days, oh yes, those were the days, la la.